All right, you guys, and a very, very happy welcome. A beautiful day to you. I'm so happy to be here with you and for us to gather again. All right, we are here to learn, we are here to grow together, we are here to support each other in our individual learning journeys, and that's what makes it so that I know that just by us coming together and entertaining certain questions and doing some processes, perhaps a guided visualization. I love those. And by doing it together, we are actually motivating ourselves and we are holding ourselves accountable on a higher level. That's my hope, my wish for you guys for attending, that you get something really valuable out of it, something that inspires you, something that is valuable to you, and that you can take then into your life and do something with, okay? That's always my intent, to teach something that's going to be practical, that's applicable, something that has some steps that you can fall back on. This idea of what were those principles again? What were those steps again that I can do? What's the first thing that I can do if, for example, I go into a downward spiral in my thought and my feeling process? And what is my answer? Of course, take a deep breath, right? And when you have those kind of things as your default, and you can go back to it and you can fall back on it in those moments of stress or in those moments of need, then you can be on your journey more as a master, someone who is self responsible, self accountable, someone who has a lot to contribute to their society. You guys, wonderful to be here with you. I'm super excited that we're doing it together. And what we are going to be doing together is we're going to play with our thoughts today. We're going to play with our internal dialogue because there's a lot going on in your brain. Did you know that? That ultimately you're thinking constantly. There are different numbers being thrown around between about 10,000 and 15,000 thoughts per day are being had by us. Just imagine it. Just those little things that are flickering in and out. And some of those thoughts really just take a couple of seconds. Some are lingering, some are when you're hearing a certain amount of information and all of a sudden your brain takes off and goes, yeah, that's right. I thought about that 3 days ago. And oh, yeah, this and that. Da, 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 da. And then you're 200 thoughts away from the conversation that the other people at the table are having. Thoughts are fascinating. Thoughts are phenomenal. Thoughts are what make this world happen. Like Albert Einstein said, it all starts with an idea. It's all starts with imagination. Everything that has ever been invented was an idea at some point. Put your mind around that for a minute. Everything that you're looking at right now, in whatever surroundings you're in, was an idea. Someone at some point said, wouldn't it be cool if we had that? Nowadays, there might be some things where you're like, why would we ever invent that? Is it that sustainable or whatever? And you also probably have a lot of things in your surroundings right now where you're like, yeah, that was pretty brilliant that they came up with that. So just imagine that, all that power, all that potential, all these opportunities, all these possibilities floating around and then being grasped by consciousness, turned into something denser than just this vague imagination of wouldn't it be fun if we had a wheel, if we could cut rocks and stack them. Wow, what else can we invent to stay a little warmer, stay a little bit more protected? That's how it all started out. Those ideas that brought us forward. And give yourself that as well from your whole life's journey point of view. All the ideas that you have had over time. Let's just say that those are the thoughts that probably mattered a lot. Those are thoughts that kept coming back repeatedly. Thoughts that had value, thoughts that had importance, that were perhaps aligned with your mission journey, your purpose, something you want to bring to this world. So, thoughts are truly an exhilarating topic, a wonderful subject, and once you start engaging with them purposefully, it can be a lot of fun. I used to be one of those victim people who really thought I was screwed by my thoughts, and I would go into those downward spirals, and I was not able to get myself out of it. And that was ultimately the problem, that I didn't have strategy. I didn't even know I was doing it in the very olden days. And then there came this awareness one day, like, this is what you're doing. Oh, okay, now at least I know what I'm doing now. And then ultimately with the NLP studies, with the shamanic studies, with hypnotherapy, and all these other wonderful modalities that have come into my life at this point, I was able to figure out, okay, we can do something about this. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. So there's going to be a little bit of a basic foundation of this is how it works. And that's why what I'm teaching you, trust it and just play with it a little bit, see how it works for you. And there is also then this aspect of how does it apply very specifically to you. How does this have a practical purpose in your life where you're at right now? So when I'm, for example, using this language of having this downward spiral, where the thoughts are not conducive to raising your state and your vibration, where the thoughts are actually taking you down into emotional states that are not conducive to who you are, who you want to be, how you want to show up in this world. And you constantly have the choice. You constantly have the edge, this moment of being able to go, oh, stop. What I'm doing right now isn't serving me. What I'm doing right now is not aligned with my higher purpose and who I want to be in this life, who I'm going to be in 10 years, and what I'm actively working towards to. And therefore, I'm going to give myself a little moment and rethink what I was just up to, the thought patterns that I chose to tap into, the old anchors that I allowed to get pushed, that emotional state that I go to when I'm all anxious, or I'm aggravated, or I'm frustrated. And it's exactly in those moments that it matters that you have those strategies available. And that's what I talked about a lot in those last few weeks. So make sure that you go back in my videos and check them out. And I also have them on YouTube for you with easy playlists for you to follow. And you can, in those moments, catch yourself. So practice awareness. I'm actually going to post the link in the description so you can easily get to it. It all starts with the breathing. It all starts with this little moment of enlightenment, that little moment of insight going, I'm doing it. And then just to reiterate, then you go to gratitude. You're going to gratefulness for catching yourself. And in that moment, you're able to interrupt the pattern. In that moment, you're able to actually change your energy. And then you can start the real thinking. Okay, what is this about? What is the positive intention of this happening? What is the purpose of this happening? How is this, in its crazy way of its showing up, somehow trying to serve me? Okay, so go back to the other video to check that out more. Today, we're going to talk more about the strategies of how your thought process actually works and how to change it. Here's one of the biggest pieces about thinking that blew my mind when I first learned about it. Because I always thought thinking, okay, what's thinking? It's the words that are going in and out of my mind. It's that stuff that I'm making up in my head. It's what we call internal dialogue. It's the thing that when I close my ears and I don't hear anything on the outside world and there's a little voice going on, that is my internal dialogue. And that's my thinking, right? Right, of course. Yeah, and it's true. And there's a lot more. Because what I didn't know at that time is it's not just the words that are coming into my mind, into my brain. It's also the pictures that I'm making. Because did you know that, for example, in the American population, a lot more people are visual thinkers than auditory thinkers, for example. And that's what they call the people who are more thinking in words. And not everybody who's auditory thinks in words. A lot of people actually also think in sounds. Isn't that interesting? So there are some really interesting distinctions. And when you start understanding that about yourself and how your specific brain functions with the way that you tapped into this world and how you grew up and your individual makeup of what your soul to express itself as. And then you can really tap deeper into your own understanding of why you see the world the way it is. And you're going to have so much more compassion for others and how they see the world. Because they are also just coming from their own makeup, from their own neurological wiring, and the way that they process reality. So knowing that you're making pictures and that that is so important. So even if you were to close your eyes right now and your ears right now, there is this internal dialogue going on, and that dialogue is usually accompanied by pictures. There's a movie going on, there are just little flashes. We could play some funny games, don't think of the purple elephant, that kind of stuff. That's right. And you know it, that there are many moments in your life where you are distinctively seeing something in your inner mind's eye. Think of your parents right now or your caregivers when you grew up. Think of your first address that you lived at. Think of your first car that you ever drove. Who was your first mathematics teacher? What's the name of the kid that sat next to you in third grade? Who was your favorite teacher? Who were some of your most important friends when you grew up? Are you catching yourself? Is it happening? You're catching yourself having those flashes? Isn't that cool? And you're doing that all day long. See, that's part of the thinking process, not just the words, it's also the movie that goes with it, as well as the snapshots, the photos. Sometimes it's slow motion, sometimes it speeds up. It's fascinating, fascinating subject that I would really encourage you to play with a lot more. And then you have the kinesthetic sense, which is the touchy, feely sense of your body. That's the part of you that is aware of temperature. It is aware of texture. You are aware of how you're sitting, what your body is touching, for example. You're fully aware of that. Your body is completely taking account of what's going on, what it is surrounded by, what it is subjected to. It runs so many processes subconsciously. You never have to think about it. The kinesthetic sense is about activities, any kind of movement, from gesturing to pulling up your cheeks, sides of your mouth to make a smile, blinking, breathing is a major aspect. I like to throw it into the kinesthetic. And for the ease of it, and yes, we can have discussions about it, and perhaps I'm going to actually give it some space as well, is the olfactory and the gustatory. So the smelling and tasting are also two very, very important senses that are contributing to our thought processes. And that's why we do meditation and have the beautiful incense on. And we're subjecting ourselves to beautiful aromas. We're cooking our favorite meal. We're making our favorite cookies. Because there is that sense, it changes our emotional state because of what we're putting into our brain. And smells are important as well. So I'm just going to touch on that on the side, as well as the gustatory, what we're eating. And I'm going to lump it all under kinesthetic for today, okay? So the third aspect that we're talking about, the first one, visual, second one, auditory, third one, kinesthetic, is the feeling sense in your body. How you're moving your body, how you're holding your body, how you're gesturing, how you're smiling. How fast you blink, how fast you breathe. Where do you breathe? Do you breathe shallowly in your chest, or do you really let the air deep into your belly? You can instantly change your state by taking a few deep breaths. Instantly. If you're stressed out, if you are in one of those spirals right now and the thoughts are becoming anxious or frustrated, just by taking a few deep breaths, you are going to change your state and you will be able to generate different thoughts because of that. So this is all super fascinating, and I hope that you're getting such a kick out of it as well, to see the potential that's there for you. Because just by becoming aware of it and having the information, you can now have so many more choices that are now available to you in your thought process, in those moments when you would like to create a little bit of change. Those moments when you go, why do I keep jumping into that trap? I saw it coming a million miles away, and yet they were able to push my button. Or why do I keep reacting this way? I know this pattern doesn't serve me, and still here I am doing it. So, all that kind of stuff you can start to deal with differently because of, as the thoughts are percolating in your head, and you're seeing the pictures, and your body is responding to it, and you're hearing those specific words and the sound effects that come with it, and the soundtrack that's behind it. And oh, yeah, it's the whole big deal. Trust me, it's like an epic movie, I always say. And the more intense the emotion is, the more epic the movie is, trust me. And the universe does not discern between what we consider good and bad, pleasant and non pleasant. Is it a lovely dream or am I having a nightmare? And you know what? My nightmares are far and few between these days, and I used to have them regularly. And usually when I do wake up from a dream, it's like, wow, that was cool. And I do see the metaphorical aspects of it, of why I would have perhaps created that in my subconscious mind while I was asleep as my little trip that I would go on. So look at your dreams as well. That's another expression of your thoughts. So the most important thing I want you to take away from the first part of tonight's seminar is ultimately that your thoughts come in more fashion than just the words that you're hearing in your mind. It's also the pictures that you're making, the movies that you're making. It's that whole soundtrack that surrounds it. It's that whole epic experience. And you're also fully associated in your body. You're in it. You're feeling it as if you were physically there. And that, by the way, is a very, very powerful manifestation tool. This is the basis of manifestation. And the people who are really, really good manifestors are doing it because they're doing it naturally. They are naturally making those positive pictures. They're naturally talking to themselves positively, powerfully about it. And they're also putting themselves physically into it. They're giving themselves the as if experience. And remember what I keep saying, the brain doesn't know the difference between something we're imagining right here, right now. I'm just making up in my head. I'm now going to Antarctica. I'm imagining hanging around and looking at some beautiful landscapes, and there's some penguins, and I can totally go there right now. And I literally saw pictures as I was looking around. And you do too. So many of you just now saw penguins, for example, when I said the word, or Antarctica, in whatever way that you have that information stored in your mind. And by hearing those words, bloop, your brain just went right there. And you can do that simply by imagining it right here, right now. The second way of doing it is by remembering it. There was a time in my life when I was in a zoo and I saw some tigers that were running around in their habitat, for example. Or I remember when I took this train up that mountain. And you go into actual memories. And the crazy thing is that the brain fires off the exact same neurology for the memory that you are re-experiencing in your mind as also the imaginary part, like what I just made up about Antarctica. Isn't that wild? And when you know that ultimately you are using the same neurology for remembering things as also creating things, that you can now actually have some real fun with that. And that's one of the things that we're doing in NLP, where we go back into the past and we give ourselves resource, we give ourselves compassion, we give ourselves understanding. We are giving ourselves the bigger picture of why would something like that which you dealt with as a child would have happened. And we look at the other people around us. And the crazy thing is, and I've done that thousands of times with clients and students alike, the moment you have that experience, something in you changes and something opens up. There is a higher level of compassion. There's a higher level of empathy. There is something that happens with us when we understand that the circumstances that happened because of the resources that we had available at that time. And I'm talking about everybody involved in the system, not just you and how you are viewing it from your point of view. I'm talking about everybody in the system. So that is some really powerful stuff, and I promise you I will make a lot more videos about that, because that's the nuts and bolts of what I consider the nitty-gritties of quantum NLP, where we really, really can change the boundaries and change the energy into the past, into the future. And that's why actually one of the themes I'm very interested in is, when I want to say it right, we're creating our past and we are remembering our future. And it is energetically the same access either way. See, in that on that level, it doesn't make a difference in the oneness. There is no difference between past and future. There is no actual progression of time linearly as we experience it here physically. because we are looking at the sun and saying the sun is changing and therefore time must be passing. And then on a deeper quantum level, it truly is all just happening right here, right now. So wrap your mind around that one again. So just knowing all of that just has to change the way that we engage with thought. And probably the most important point I want to make now is that we're not screwed by our thoughts. You're not stuck with your thoughts. You don't have to buy into it. You don't have to pay attention to it and then perpetuate it and think it more and more and more until you're really dragged down. That is the most important part about it. And that's also the practical part about what I wanted to teach you is that ability to catch yourself, go back to the other video, and then doing something with it and really changing those thought patterns in that moment, if that's what you choose to do. Because sometimes you want to wallow, sometimes you want to go down the spiral and say, okay, what is there? What do I need to discover? What's down that rabbit hole? I get it, done it myself a lot. I'm still doing it here and there. And most of the time, I've learned that it's more conducive to my health and my well being, to my general level of happiness, my connection with others, to let go of a lot of stuff and simply say little mantras. Now we're talking about the auditory stuff that I taught myself. It will pass. It's going to be okay. It's not a big deal. Ah, I'm going to laugh about it. All that stuff. And didn't come from 1 second to the next. Took me a second to figure it out and go, okay, this is important. I want to do it. And then it took a lot of practice and I got a little better and a little better. And then I had my setbacks and then I got off the path and then I gave up and then I was mad and frustrated and I did it again and da. And everybody on this journey right now, you know exactly what I'm talking about because that's how we learn and grow. And then it gets smoother and smoother. And then there comes that day when you catch yourself and you're like, hey, I didn't go to my old pattern. I went to my new pattern and I did it subconsciously. Oh, yes, thank you. And then you learn the next pattern, right? So you are in charge of your thoughts. Okay, that's the most important thing here. And you're not stuck with your thoughts. You can change them. You can challenge them. You can say, why do I still believe that? Do I really still believe that this is true? Is this how I want to see the world? Is this how I want to see myself? Is this how I want to think about the future? And so on and so on. And you're doing it by changing, transforming your internal dialogue, the words that you're saying to yourself with the practice, by saying things like, I'm going to replace my worry thoughts when I think about the future of my children, the world economy, the list goes on and on and on. And I feel myself tightening up. I'm getting anxious. My body is constricting. That's the kinesthetic aspect. I'm seeing pictures that are not resourceful when I'm projecting myself 50 years into the future, and so on and so on. What do I want to have happen in that moment? I want to be hopeful. I want to have thoughts like, I believe in humanity. I believe in human genius. I believe in the goodness in the world and that we're going to figure this out. I trust. I trust the universe. I trust God, whatever your language is. You can practice that in those moments then, when it happens, you are now tapping into the new thought pattern. And that little voice that perhaps starts saying, oh man, I'm really worried about blah, 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 blah. Oh yeah, remember, everything's going to work out perfectly. In the ultimate, in the big picture, in the end, it's going to be okay. And I'm going to be okay. My family's going to be okay. Because you made the decision to make that your reality. And then the practice is that every time that you do catch yourself, it happening, that you then reframe it in that moment and practice the new pattern. So that's what we're going to do now, because the brain loves to learn. And when the brain has been exposed to new information that is more useful than the old information, it loves to hook onto that. And then when you practice it a few times in a very specific context, the brain then will naturally say, hey, I really like this, and I'm going to map it over into the other contexts. So you might do it right now with finances because you're worried about your financial security in the future. And then all of a sudden your brain says, you know what, that worked really great for money and abundance and investments. How about for health? Can I use this for my body and how I communicate with myself about my longevity and actually have better patterns and support myself more so that I do grow older better? How about it now influencing my relationships? How can I use those principles to also then influence my relationships positively by becoming a better listener, by being more present with the people that I'm with, by being a better negotiator? When I lead, I'm a better leader. When I'm following, I'm a better follower. All those things. Isn't that cool? And that's what makes it also really exciting. So you will see the snowball effect over time. We're starting small, we're making it specific, and then the brain generalizes it out into the areas where it applies and where it's useful. So pick something specific. With everything that you heard me talk so far, what is the specific thing that you would like to work on, that you would like to tap into, where you know you could use a little enhancement, where it would help you to be more effective, to be kinder to yourself, to be kinder to others? And remember, we're talking about your thought patterns. So, what are those thoughts that are running through your mind a lot of times that are frustrating to you, that are not conducive to who you want to be? Those thoughts do not have to be purely auditory words. They can also be pictures, or they can be certain patterns that you're having in your physiology that you tap into. First one that comes to mind is if you get anxious and you get sweaty palms. How about that? Or you get anxious and you start to stutter. You start tumbling over your words. You start, oh, I used to do that, by the way. I used to get so anxious before going on stage when I first started public speaking that I would breathe so fast that I would start stumbling over my words. And after talking several sentences and going way too fast, I would actually catch my breath saying, oh my God, you guys, I'm so excited. And that's why I'm talking so fast. Da, 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 da. And it took me a few times to get over that and actually then start slower, have my breathing patterns now that I do before I turn on the video, before I go on stage, and all those kind of things. And it's learned. I didn't know that in the beginning. So if this is truly the first time you're hearing this, oh my goodness, I'm so elated. I'm so, so, so stoked that this is the first time you're hearing this. And that it's really, I hope, going to create some awesome changes for you in your communication with yourself and others. And it's going to open up a whole new world for you about how your brain processes information, how you learn, how you sort information, how you can retrieve information. It's all connected. And if you've been around the block a few times and you've heard this stuff for 20, 30 years, I would like for you to challenge yourself and say, okay, where else can I apply that wonderful information that I haven't thought of yet? So, everybody has something specific that you can think of? All right. And I would like for you, because it's always important to know what's up, okay? So, this is our diagnosis. What are you currently doing? How do you currently represent whatever that thing is that stresses you out, whatever that thing is that you're frustrated about, where you're not able to catch yourself? How do you represent it? For example, I'm giving you a couple of very easy examples. When someone is overwhelmed because of a task, a project, life experiences, a situation, one of the things they do, for example, visually, they make the pictures extremely big and very close. So they are literally having that picture towering over them. Isn't that crazy? That we can actually see that? And you know how we see that? In their gestures. That's how they are letting us know where the picture is and how big it is and what their relationship is to it. Because when I describe to you this wonderful scenery over there, da, 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 and you're hearing it, my voice tone, and it's all flowy and happy, or it's like, you know, I have this project going on, and my list is way too long, and I'm just like totally overwhelmed with everything that's going on. Right now, I'm showing you this is where the picture is like literally pushing me down like that ceiling, you're lowering the ceiling. And that is part of your thinking right now that is influencing the emotion of feeling overwhelmed. Isn't that cool when you know that? Or it's the voice tone. Did you know that? That you're actually talking to yourself in different voice tones and accents and all kinds of stuff. If you were to think right now of James Bond and some of your favorite scenes when you think of James Bond, I bet you, if he were to speak right now, you would actually hear the actor's voice. Sean Connery, Craig Daniels, different voice. Isn't that cool? When you think about songs that were sang in different languages, do it right now. Or some of your favorite music. You're hearing symphony, right? So when you are not in a good state, you might hear a screeching voice, or favorite of all of us, of course, Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah, 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 wah. It is the quality of the voice. It is how the message is being brought across. And all of that affects how those words then live within you and how you're absorbing them, if they're useful to you or not. Are they empowering you or are they degrading you? Wow, isn't that amazing to know that? So pay attention to that. Kinesthetically, what goes on in your body? Do you feel the butterflies? Is it I'm feeling dragged down in my back? My lower back immediately starts hurting when I think about that. Whenever I get into that state, whenever I think about paying my bills, my shoulders just start hurting. Or whenever I think about giving a public speech, my mouth immediately goes super dry and I just have to drink all the time. Whenever I think about confronting my partner about some feedback I need to give them, I immediately start fluttering my words and then I say things I don't want to say. What else do we have? Whenever I have to go to the doctor and I take my blood pressure or I'm doing this test or that test, I get really anxious. I don't like needles. Da, 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 da. Whatever it is, whatever those little things are that you're saying, whenever I blah, 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 this and that happens, or I don't like this about myself, or I don't like that about myself, there is going to be some pictures that you're seeing. There's going to be words. There's going to be sound. There's going to be soundtrack. And there are going to be very specific sensations in your body that go with that specific subject. Okay? And when you have that figured out, when you understand that, you have so much power in your corner, my friend. You can do so much when you understand that the reason you're overwhelmed is because that picture is too close. Then push it out. Now I can actually look. It's just like having your computer screen too close. Push it out so you can see it. Now you can look at it. Here we go. And that's just one tiny example. You can change the colors in your pictures. You can make it slowing it down. I said that earlier already. You can go into a Jedi trance. Whenever I'm in a situation where I feel I need more time, where I feel I need more time to think, or I need some more time to respond to what's going on right now. Actually happened in traffic a few times. It's what we call that Jedi trance, where all of a sudden it seems like time is slowing down. My movie is slowing down. It's becoming the Matrix. It's becoming Star Wars. And then I'm just kind of sliding and flowing through it. I've done that. And I'm not doing it consciously. I catch myself doing it afterwards, going, oh, I did it. I just did that. Wow. It's like when you're crossing the corner and someone else comes towards you and you're both like swerving out of the way last second. It's one of those. So you have done it. You do it kinesthetically. You're also doing it auditorily by simply saying to yourself in that moment when the little negative thoughts happen, you go, it's one of those moments. Yeah, I caught myself. Okay, what I want to think right now is, I know it's going to turn out well. That project I'm working on right now, that's way too much, and I have way too much on my to-do list, and I feel like I don't have enough time right now. Ultimately, I know it's going to work out because it always does. Something like that. So you know now what you have been doing, okay? You got to know what's wrong. Sorry, not wrong. You got to know what's currently going on. You got to be able to diagnose, this is my current state. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm thinking in words. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm feeling in my body. This is also how I'm breathing. And this is also what I'm smelling and tasting. You can go there as well. So that's what I'm doing right now. And now comes the big question, what do you want instead? So if it doesn't work for me that I'm having these overwhelming pictures about what's going on and it's just too much and I have too little time, what I want is to see myself in the future, looking back at myself and sending me love and compassion and saying, honey bunny, it's all going to work out. It's going to be okay. This is me from the future. And I'm assuring you, just like I have many times during your life, that you are coming towards me. And however long this journey is going to take you, I'm here for you. So just imagine creating that kind of a relationship with yourself in the future that gives you hope, that holds you dearly, that draws you in, that is excited for you to come closer one day at a time as you age, as you grow. So that's one of the things that I've cultivated over time. Another one is simply going into technological advancements, for example, and just imagining the kind of world that we're going to live in 50 years when we have figured out many other solutions, which, for example, I learned something else about some, not only desalination, also actually about wastewater management being upgraded. And we are going to be doing a lot more with it, and we're going to pull a lot more resources out of it, which I'm really excited about. That is something that just has to happen, that we need to completely rethink, or the transportation system. There's a lot of things that I believe are going to naturally happen over the next 50 years. So I can set my mind on that road, for example. So here's my little downward spiral. I'm overwhelmed, too much going on. Hey, remember how many times humanity has reinvented itself? Remember how many geniuses we have running around? The solutions are already all there. And then I see those pictures of the people with the ocean cleanup and all these cool inventions that we're doing, and people coming together and doing cool things. All right. So those are just some examples. Let's go for relationship. That's always a big one. There's a pattern that you're doing that you don't like. Perhaps because you're being criticized and then you're going into a clamshell, or you get angry, or you say things you regret later. So, whatever that behavior is that you're doing, how you're reacting to criticism, to feedback, right now it's not as peachy as you'd like it to be. So, imagine the pictures that are going with it, imagine the sounds that are going with it, imagine the feelings that are going with it in your body. So, and what do we want instead? Ultimately, when I receive feedback, I want to be open. I want to be receptive. And I want to be in a state of asking myself, what's the gift here? What is the importance in that's being shared with me, aside from the messenger? What is the message that the universe wants me to know right now? Because this is something that I obviously need to know, otherwise it wouldn't be happening. Give yourself that right now as your internal dialogue. What's the purpose? What's the meaning? What's the gift? How is this useful to me? Thank you, universe, for bringing this to me. Or I'm accepting responsibility. And of course, there are different scenarios. And I know there are some of you right now going, oh, well, in this case, I wouldn't want to say that. Of course, I'm talking about mild cases, let's say. I'm talking about perhaps deserved feedback, earned feedback, where it's like, oh, yeah, perhaps I did make a mistake, or I didn't behave the way I really like to, that kind of stuff. Of course, there can also be simply, oh, I cannot believe you're saying this. This does not apply to me at all, and all that. The important thing is openness, kindness, understanding, being able to negotiate, also having self worth, having a good discernment. So imagine bringing all of those resources together in that moment and being able to now create the kind of pictures that support that state. So I'm thinking of all these amazing things where I learned. Again, I'm going back to remember, imagine, where I learned something useful from getting feedback. There must be something good in here. There must be a gift in here. So I can make like a catalog, I can make like a little slideshow of past experiences where I had a good time receiving feedback and I was open and receptive and I got something out of it. There has to be a message here. There has to be a purpose for this. Right on. Bring it on. I can take it. It's not a big deal. That's another one. It's not a big deal. So think of all those things in your life that are not a big deal. And you can make a movie of that, a slideshow. And then you say it to yourself. It's not a big deal. It's a piece of cake. I've done this before. Make sense? And then you practice the physical aspect of it as well, the physiology that supports that state, because it's not the hunched over shoulders, the high breath, high in your chest, and the frown that is going to be conducive to be happy. There is so much research about the power of the smile and what it does to us hormonally. It literally will change your state in less than a minute by putting a smile on your face. Little wrinkles in your eyes, holding yourself upright, free gestures, everything is nice and loosey goosey. Yeah, jaw loose, shoulders loose, hips loose, butt loose, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Yeah. Feels good, feels energized, feels vivacious in the life. That's energy, you guys. Yeah, moving forward. You can always tell by how a person walks. The second you hear the schlump, schlump, schlump because of them sloshing their feet over the ground, immediately, it's a different walk. And someone's like, da, 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 da. And it's also the speed at which they walk. It gives the person's state away right there in their walk. How they hold their shoulders, how they hold their back, the way they gesture. It all fits together. So that's what you want to watch for yourself. How you're molding your body, how you're holding your physiology. And you will activate different hormones. You will have different neurological access. You will fire off different information between your neurons. So powerful. So come up with the items that you want in your desired state. This is how I want to be. This is who I am. This is how I look. These are the aspects that I can discern about myself that let me know that I'm digging it. I'm in my happy place. I'm resourceful. I'm presenting myself congruently with who I am, how I want to be in this world, what I stand for. And you can see that. You can literally see it in your mind's eye. Isn't that cool? So yeah, close your eyes and see it right now. The you that you are becoming. And that can be a you a couple of months from now, can be a you 5 years from now, or your old self, your wise self, your mature self. This is me at 88 years old. I always like to say that. That's my go-to, my 88-year-old. And she's digging it. She's having a huge party. And she's always so loving, so inviting. So use your visual faculty to enhance your relationship with reality. When my son started speaking and he started getting into the longer words, and because he's such a creative soul, the word imaginator was a big deal. And we were exposed to imaginating in our house for many years when he would use that word. And at the first moment, we tried to correct him, saying, no, it's imagining. And he would say again, imaginating, imaginating, until we finally realized what he's doing here is talking about imagining and creating. So let's imaginate how you want to be. And in that moment, that XYZ happens in your life, you can have those visuals that are enhancing your state right there in that moment and give you that compassion for yourself and others, that understanding for self and others, openness, freedom, peace of mind, kindness, gratitude, passion. So many wonderful resources that we have within us. And you can access them right there simply by imagining it. By thinking of times when you were being resourceful, your body will immediately respond. It will immediately activate the neurology that gives you that state, and you will feel it in that moment. You had fear, and just by giving yourself that quick little visual, you were then okay. I was hiking yesterday, and there were a couple of higher steps, and I've been getting some interesting messages from my left knee lately. So I had a moment of apprehension when it was one of those higher steps, and I didn't know if the other rock underneath was stable enough for me to do. And so I just went back to other times. And that just takes a millisecond at this point in those moments of where you are discerning, do I take the step or not? And I just went back to a couple of times of testing out the other rock and then very simply stepping up with my left leg. And it went perfectly. I was really happy. So that moment of apprehension I had, I went into my little strategies of it's going to be okay. I've done this a million times. I know I've got the capacity of doing it. And this is what I need to do. I need to make sure that the other rock is safe to step on. And then it's going to support my other leg to easily get up. And that was it. So that moment of fear, awkwardness, not safe, whatever that is, with that quick little thought process of it's going to be okay. I'm seeing myself in the past doing it. Here are a couple of strategies, da, da, da. And then deep breath, bam, took the step. Do it with relationship. Someone was being mean to you. You want to go into your, oh, I can't believe they said that, poor me mode. Or you're going to your, I can't believe you said that to me, mode. Whatever your response is in that moment, say the things to yourself, see yourself, get the feeling in your body of how you want it to be. I always say compassion with boundaries. That's actually a Dalai Lama principle, I think I got that from. That you want to have good boundaries with compassion. You want to have compassion with good boundaries. Yeah. Healthy selfishness is another way he describes it. You want to have that discernment. Is this appropriate, first of all? Am I safe? Is this appropriate? Is this respectful? Excellent. So you can run everything, every interaction through those filters. And you're going to get really good at it. If there are issues that you're having with abundance and you don't feel safe, first of all, the news and how things are being portrayed and what the world is looking at right now, tomorrow, next month, over the next few years, and you feel yourself getting into fear mode, again, make those pictures, see yourself, how you want it to be, and then talk to yourself about it. It's all going to work out. We have the genius, we have the technology, we have the resources, it's all there. And we are resilient. We can figure this out. And so on and so on. And molding your body, being in that physical shape that's conducive to having the happy thoughts, having that happy neurology where it all can flow. That wonderful deep breath. It's all there. Yeah, right on. So you can do that in every area of your life. With every issue, you can run it through those filters. You can say, what am I currently doing? That's what I'm doing currently. What do I want to be doing? What is more conducive to me and my development, why I'm here, the mission I'm serving in this lifetime, and how I want to show up for others and myself? What are the pictures I want to constantly be making in my mind when I think about my physical future and how I'm aging? How my body develops over time with the foods I'm eating, the kind of movement I'm doing, the patterns that I have. What do I vision myself to be in 20, 30, 50 years? And that is so useful, especially for the younger generations, that you already start doing that. And that you are affirming things that are conducive to your health. And it might even be as simple as, and I know someone is going to be touched by that, people who think they're accident prone. I'm going to challenge you right now to put that belief into your museum of old beliefs, so to speak, and let it go. Ask yourself how it still serves you. How has it served you? Why would you have a belief like that? Did you perhaps honor a relative who had it? Are you a very empathetic person, too sympathetic, and take on other people's stuff? And the second they hurt their foot, you have to hurt your foot. Oh, there are so many reasons why we do this kind of stuff, you guys. You wouldn't believe it. It's very much an exciting topic to dive into. Just that little idea of being accident prone, or why you have certain diseases, why you have certain patterns, why you have certain wellness issues. And that can be on all levels: mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally. Why do you have certain financial patterns? What goes on in your mind when you think about money? Or when you think about money in your future, your safety level, your retirement, your investments? Look at the pictures you're making in your mind when you're thinking about that. It's powerful information. And you're going to learn so much about that. You're going to change so much by simply realizing what you're actually doing. And you can always flip it into, what do you want instead? What is going to serve you more? What do you want to see? What do you want to say to yourself? That's why positive affirmations are so powerful. That's why they work so well. Because you're constantly rehearsing that new internal dialogue. You're overriding old negative dialogue. I can't do this. This is too hard. I'm too old. I don't have the education. Da 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 da. And you just start reframing those kind of thoughts into, there have been people much older than me that went back to university. So and so started his career at 60. Da da da. You know, there are all these counter examples that I can conjure up. Or so and so wrote his book at 80. Look at this woman who does yoga at 95. You know, all those kind of things that I can now put into my mind and say, you're never too old to change. As long as you want to, and you truly have the discernment and you make the decision, oh yes, you can change. And I've seen it. Tremendous. Tremendous stories that I've heard from people and that I've observed. Love it. Gives me a lot of hope. So you're molding that internal dialogue, and you're also molding, again, the physiology, you guys. I cannot emphasize how important the physiology is, and especially the deep breathing. So nice deep breath, nice deep breath, relaxed breath. Let them all the way in. Enjoy them. And then when you exhale, also nice deep exhale. The whole package. It is so important. It is so amazing what it does for your health, your well-being, your ability to think, your ability to have emotions, to act, to be in this world and create wonderful results is based on your ability to breathe deeply, my friend. So if there's only one thing that you're going to take away with you today and that you're going to practice truly, it is deep breathing. So anything that has to do with meditation, that is conducive to deep breathing, anything that has to do with guided visualizations, with the kind of music that you like to listen to, the kind of walking patterns that you have. I do a lot of fours. I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I like to align my breathing with steps, for example, that I'm taking 4 steps and I'm breathing in, then I take 4 steps, I'm breathing out, and then I can tell when I'm hiking up a mountain, for example, it becomes a 2 and 2, for example, and I always know that I'm really working out when I'm all of a sudden compelled to breathe through my mouth instead of just through my nose. So there's a lot more information on that, and I do have that information on multiple of my videos on YouTube. You can also go back right here on my wall and scroll back and see my other videos that I have here. You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and some other wonderful social media outlets. I do definitely put a lot of videos on YouTube. I would love for you to visit that there. And then, of course, you also need to check out my products. And did you know that I have all my books on Amazon and on Kindle? I'm so excited. So much fun to see the titles there and to know that people can actually download them from there. So yeah, make sure that you check out my products as well. If you are interested in what quantum NLP has to offer, how we can enhance our consciousness, we can increase our consciousness, our vibration, and then ultimately become more active co-creators in our lives. So that's what I want to convey to you guys. That's what I want to bring over in these seminars, and I am committed to keeping them going. I'm having way too much fun, you guys. I'm always looking forward to my Tuesday evenings when I'm gathering with you guys. And so those last few minutes that we have, I would like for us to just summarize everything, wrap it up, bring it back together, giving you those last minute reminders just as a how is this useful to me? How can I use it now? And what are the most important pieces that I'm taking away with me? Okay, what's the greatest value that I just got out of this? So remember, thinking is not just the words that are coursing through your mind, the words that you're hearing in your internal dialogue. It is also the pictures that you're making, and it's also the physiology of your body, which includes your breathing patterns. It also, we're lumping it together, what you're smelling, what you're tasting, because you're always tasting and smelling something. And once you start paying attention to it, you will be amazed because it's really happening. And there might be places that turn you off just because they don't smell good, or that they remind you of someone that you liked or disliked, and then all of a sudden you're having a specific emotional response. Super fascinating stuff. So pay attention to that. That is a very, very important piece that I would love for you to take home with you and start practicing with, simply by practicing the awareness that that's what's going on. The second piece is you're not stuck with your negative thoughts and your negative emotions ultimately, because your emotions derive from your thoughts. The emotion that you're experiencing is ultimately the conglomeration of the thoughts you're having, the conglomeration of the pictures that you're making, the thoughts that you're having, the words that are coursing through your mind, and how you're holding your body. That all gets put together and then becomes an emotion. Isn't that cool? That's how it works. So if you want to change your state, your emotional state, you need to change your thought process. We're just reverse engineering here. Do you see that? Yeah, so easy, you guys. It's so easy. Once you start it and once you give yourself the gift of saying, this is important to me and I want to learn this. It's just a skill, you guys. And unfortunately, that's not a skill we're learning in school. Wouldn't that be incredible to learn that in school and to know that about yourself and how the world works and how people work and how you can change it so you are not stuck with it? You can change it. And what you're doing is you're doing the comparison. This is what I'm doing right now. This is what I would like to do instead. This is how I want to show up. These are the pictures I want to make. I'm teaching my brain to make these kind of pictures whenever I think about this subject. I'm teaching my brain to think these kind of thoughts and have those kind of words going through my mind whenever I think about that kind of subject. This is how I want my body to hold itself whenever I am thinking about that subject. When I'm thinking about public speaking, I want to be in my power. I want to feel it in my body. I want to feel it in the fluidity of how I'm in my body, the lightness that I'm feeling, the warmth, the comfortableness. I'm seeing the pictures in my mind of the receptivity, the connection, the kindness, the smiles, the laughter. I'm hearing the words in my mind that are coming out of my mouth and how they're all fluid and flowing. That's how you can enhance your state, for example, for public speaking. Or when you are thinking about how you want to be playful with a child, when you are really present in the moment and you don't want to think about work or other chores that you have to do. So give yourself that right now. I see myself sitting on the floor and we're playing Lego and we're really engaging with each other. I'm paying attention to the kid. I'm really joining their world. I let them lead and we're having so much fun together. And I see the big smile on their face. I'm hearing the wonderful words coming out of their mouth, having that cute little voice. And I'm feeling so wonderful in my body. Everything is so relaxed. And I'm so amazed how much fun I'm having playing Lego. Right there, you just changed your state. Do it for playing an instrument. I just see myself, how I'm sitting there, and my posture is really good, and my hands are flowing up and down the keys, and I'm hitting the right notes. It's very easy to translate what I'm seeing in front of me onto my fingers. I'm hearing the beautiful sound of the piano. I'm hearing my internal dialogue going, this is wonderful. This feels so good. I love this. Thank you for this beauty of music. I'm feeling the fluidity in my arms. I know I'm doing this under the camera here. You can't see it. So truly, you can use this for every situation. Doing tests, taking tests, doing athletic competitions, learning a new skill, learning how to drive, how to become a better communicator, whatever it is, you can run it through these filters and get something amazing out of it. And that, my friend, is my greatest wish for you, that you are going to take the opportunity and that you're going to practice what you learned today, okay? So make a promise to yourself right now, take it as far as you want to, and make some kind of commitment to yourself. This is what I want to learn. I just want to be open to it. I'm just going to pay attention to it in general, or I want to master this. It is useful in my profession. I totally see the purpose of this in my parenting. I see how important this is for my personal well being, and I want to master this. So, whatever level you want to engage with it right now, my hope, my expectation, my wish for you is that you're going to get something out of it that you can look back on in a few months from now saying, hey, I changed that. I became more aware of my thinking. I was able to discern what's going on. I diagnosed it. I realized what doesn't work for me as well. And then I was able to change it into new and more empowering patterns. With that, my dear friends, I wish you the most wonderful rest of the day and happy learning and happy practice. Have a good one, and I see you soon again. Bye.